Thank you very much for joining me today, Xinrou.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. And I wanted to talk with you because you're a journalist and you're based in Shanghai and you
Yep.
work in the intersection of kind of social media, AI in the United States versus China. And that's an area I'm very interested in. And in general, there are many people who are looking into that right now. Maybe you could give a brief introduction to yourself. You could probably do a better job of it than I can.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm currently an freelance journalist based in Shanghai, and I'm just really interested in how technology shapes Chinese society and everyday life. So I did my MFA, that's Master of Fine Arts, in literary reportage at NYU, and I used it to be a fashion writer at a V magazine back in New York. So since I'm moving back to China in 2022, I've mainly focused on just telling stories that explore the intersection of the Chinese digital ecosystem, youth culture, and the impact of technologies like AI and the EVs. So basically, I write about the Chinese tech scene for English language publications.
Okay, very cool. And if we break it down to the very core, what would you say is one way where Chinese social media differs from the social media in the United States?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So like over the years, I've been like learning about Chinese social media a lot. And one thing I notice is that, so personally, I do think Chinese social media in China is very magical. So everything take place on the Chinese social media, like e-commerce, live streams, food recommendations, like travel tips and of course like daily news. And in the US, people still watch news like CNN, CNBC, etc. And in China, so I do think social media really like is an alternative to TV or state media, which is of course strictly controlled by the government. And TV content is tedious and repetitive, and the social media like a Red Note on the Xiaohongshu, and the Douyin, that's the Chinese version of TikTok. They definitely like offer more diversified and entertaining content where you can find the latest info. Well, I mean, and it speaks of latest info, we have to talk about algorithms used in the Chinese social media. So on the one hand, just like everywhere where else, algorithms used on the Chinese social media, of course, like centers on content recommendations and user engagement. But on the other hand, they do have to operate under the regulations carried out by the CAC. So the CAC is the Cybersecurity Administration of China, and they have to promote like so-called like positive energy. So like Chinese social media algorithms heavily monitor and collect user data. And the tech companies behind these social media platforms, they would share it with the government authorities. And about the latest info that I mentioned, that's actually what you can see after filtering out or like censoring information against the regulations. And I mean, in the US, social media isn't explicitly censored for political content, but there's a wide range of like different like political views. So different content gets fed to different people via the algorithms. So it can really like serve to amplify extreme views and reinforce existing biases. So yeah, I would say like social media feeds are much less polarizing and differentiated in China compared to the US. Yeah.
And I'm curious, as a Chinese social media user, and especially for younger people, do they feel like they're being censored on social media?
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, this is really interesting because like I talked before, like on American social media platforms like racism, hate speech, etc., like are rife. So I do see like American social media regulations are like laissez-faire, and this approach definitely like as it exacerbates extreme views, and Chinese social media feeds are less polarized. But I mean, it really comes down to the point of free speech. And yes, especially like Chinese young netizens, um, sometimes people like complain about like censorship in a very vague or like subtle way. Um, so on Chinese social media platforms like RedNote, in terms of like more sensitive discussions, because of these strict regulations, like netizens have to be creative in terms of like expressing their opinions. So Chinese netizens rely heavily on euphemism and even like coded language to express their dissatisfaction with let's say censorship.
Mm.
And this is something like I observed like a few years ago. It's really interesting. Um, one of the most famous Chinese writers, his name is Lu Xun. Um, so basically, Lu Xun's work is about harsh criticism of social problems in China, but like his writing is very like vague and very subtle. So a few years back, like during the whole like COVID lockdown thing, when the government tried to censor discussion about COVID lockdown, I saw like netizens, most of them are like younger Chinese. They expressed their anger by commenting a sentence from Lu Xun's article. So translating it to English, that's something like hope is like a road in the country. There was never a road, but when many people walk on it, the road comes into existence. So like using this quote is actually like encouraging more people to speak up against the censorship on like discussion about like COVID lockdown because of the fact that Lu Xun is very famous in China. So there's no reason for the government to censor this kind of like quote. So this is how creative Chinese netizens have to be in terms of like expressing their anger or dissatisfaction with the censorship.
That's very interesting. And censorship is only one part of the equation, as I see it. There's another part which is called the social media addiction.
Mm,
TikTok is a perfect example, but also Instagram and other social media. They addict many users. And I wouldn't say it's only young users because it's adults like myself and many other people as well. But in general, people spend way too much time on social media, like many hours in front of a screen. Especially for young people, they don't have the cognitive abilities yet to, or like self-restraint to stop themselves from using social media. So they'll just spend hours and hours scrolling and swiping. How do China respond to that problem?
well, I mean, this is a great question because speaking from my experience, like when I'm traveling or like when I'm on subway, like people are constantly on their phone scrolling on Note, like Douyin, just scrolling like short videos. So on Douyin, that's Chinese TikTok, like Chinese government asked ByteDance to carry out regulations like it's called like 青少年模式. That's a like mode for like teenager users. So basically, like teenager users, they have to like set like the maximum or like minimum like hours of usage like time spent on Douyin. Yeah. But here's another like interesting phenomenon that I noticed because in the West, it seems like well, social media addicts are among the younger generation, but in China is a different story. So like Chinese seniors are very hooked to TikTok, to Douyin as well. Just like my grandma, she could like spend hours scrolling on her iPad for like different like short videos. And like senior users, they're definitely like more vulnerable to misinformation, like fake news, etc. So yeah, it's very concerning.
Aha. I had another guest on previously who said that Chinese consumers are in general more tech savvy compared to Western consumers, even like
That's
Chinese
true.
grandmas. Yeah, they are like
Yes.
experts on AI and social media. That's your experience as well.
Yes, definitely. Well, I mean, I feel like one biggest reason like behind it it's like okay, after moving back from the States to China in 2022, I feel like I was very like dumb when it comes to technologies because in China, like you have to use your phone to do everything. Like you gotta like use scan your a code on Alipay to take the subway, and you have like millions of apps just to like uh find like the best restaurants to eat and like buy coupons like on a given app. So the whole like Chinese society kind of just like pushes people to use phones more just to try out different apps. Yeah, that's my experience.
Is your impression that people are becoming fatigued? Like app fatigued is a concept I've heard in America and Europe, where people are using so many apps and spending so much time on figuring out things on the web that they eventually become like exhausted and tired and need to go outside because they can't handle it anymore. Is that something Chinese consumers experience too?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, that's definitely a yes. So, like every time like I go out to a restaurant, like the restaurant like servers, they would ask me to go on this app to buy coupon and give them like 5-star review. Like it's just every time I am overwhelmed. I wish we could just like pay in cash or just like yeah.
Mm. Okay, so it's the same pretty much.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm a bit of a nerd. So I actually, I've read the law in China about recommendation algorithms, and I noticed there was one provision which calls for the protection of seniors on, on platforms which are using recommendation algorithms. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. We have a lot of protection of children and minors in the West, but what about seniors? Like people over 65 years old, they might not be interested in using the internet and social media as much as younger generations. There are so many scams, unfortunately, of older people who don't really know how this new age technology paradigm works, which is very sad. Um, but based on your explanation, I can understand that seniors in China are perhaps even more tech savvy than like younger
Yes.
generations. So there's not really that much of a need for it, really.
Well, I mean, I feel like the COVID pandemic definitely like changed a lot because I was super lucky that I didn't like really experience COVID lockdown in China because I was in the States back then. Like I heard the COVID lockdown in China is super, super, super hardcore. Just imagine it, like when older people they were stuck at home, they didn't have anything else to do except like scrolling on TikTok. Yeah,
Wow,
it's very
that's
brutal.
terrible.
Hmm.
And for how long was it? It was 1 month and a half, or was it longer?
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, it was really like up to a local government. But in Shanghai, the COVID lockdown lasted for like 2 months. And a lot of like older people, because like okay, during COVID lockdown in Shanghai, like government, they would like distribute like food to different like households. But def like if so. Okay, I try to like recall because I interviewed a girl like for COVID lockdown like in the past last year. Like she told me that like the food sometimes was not enough. So like younger people they use WeChat or like even like 小红书 that's Renault to like trade food on social media. That's why that's how like people got enough food during the COVID lockdown. But for senior people, like for older people, who couldn't like use phone properly or like who's just not super familiar with like how to like talk to people on social media, like some of the older people they couldn't even have enough food during COVID lockdown. That was really, really cruel and brutal. Yeah.
Do you think that the lockdown changed how many Chinese people watched or like perceived the government?
I definitely agree, especially like in Shanghai. Like, if I remember correctly, like during COVID, right after COVID lockdown, a lot of people they just like ran away from China, and the search term um run like RUN run, but in Chinese that's called run. So it's kind of become like a philosophy because like more Chinese people they realize that they don't want to like live in China after COVID lockdown, and some people I interviewed, they told me that they were traumatized by the Shanghai lockdown. About the term run or like immigration um spiked during and after the COVID lockdown in Shanghai. That suggests that like more people they realize that they don't want to live in China anymore. And a lot of people I interviewed, they told me that they were like traumatized by the lockdown experience. Yeah. So COVID lockdown definitely like changed a lot of like Chinese people's views on the government. Yeah.
Do you think it will have any consequences? Do you think that people will in fact leave China, or like more people will leave China after the lockdowns?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And well, I mean, for those people who could, they already left. And more people they are probably like thinking about like leaving China. Yeah. And the other day, like I was like taking a cab and the cab drivers, he complained to me that during COVID lockdown because his mother or father-in-law had to go to the hospital, but because of a lockdown, like he missed like the father-in-law, if I remember correctly, missed his hospital appointment. Yeah. Then he passed away.
Wow, brutal.
I know, right? That's crazy.
To switch topics briefly, I also want to talk with you about AI. How do you use AI personally?
Yeah, okay. Personally, I use ChatGPT a lot. Since 2022 when ChatGPT came out, I've been using ChatGPT since 2022. But recently, well, I've started experimenting with DeepSeek as well. Based on my like experience, I definitely noticed that like DeepSeek does a better job when it comes to like editing Chinese writing. Because like weirdly enough, my Chinese writing is not as good as my English writing. So I just asked DeepSeek to help me edit some like Chinese sentences. And sorry, like DeepSeek definitely does a better job in Chinese editing and writing. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's also trained on a lot more Chinese data, I imagine.
Yes, yes, yes.
And what about people in China in general? What kind of AI tools are popular in China?
Uh, Actually, there are a lot of like AI tools in China. DeepSeek, of course, this is like the most popular one right now. Before DeepSeek, there's Ernie Bot, Kimi, and it's just like there's a lot of AI tools, but now only like Ernie Bot, Kimi just like came to my mind. But there's definitely like more. So like DeepSeek is definitely like a game changer because before DeepSeek, not like every Chinese people they know how to use AI, and they definitely like didn't have the access to good AI tools. Like by good, I mean the kind of AI tools that could like compete with ChatGPT. Even though like Baidu has Ernie Bot and ByteDance has what's the ByteDance's model? Well, anyways, yeah, even though like China, like before DeepSeek, China had like different like AI tools, but they are not as good as ChatGPT. Sometimes they just provide you like super like machine-like answers and just gave you like wrong information, just feed users with wrong information. But now with DeepSeek is as good as ChatGPT and most importantly, is free. So more people they are started to use to use DeepSeek. Um, to like for their like work or like to do research, etc. So yeah, DeepSeek definitely like changed a lot about like how Chinese people like perceives AI.
Okay, okay. And I imagine that they use AI in a similar way to how we use it in the Western world. Like students use AI for homework, workers use it to work faster and so on? Or do you think that there are some ways the young people in China or even the old people in China are using AI differently from how we do in the West?
Mm, Well, I mean, personally, I don't think like there's like a big difference, but as far as I'm like I've observed, like a lot of like so in China now, government like local governments they've started to like implementing ChatGPT sorry like DeepSeek into like public administrations and banks like car makers even like insurance companies um they started to use AI to do like work or like to do like customer like services. And a lot of like businesses they use DeepSeek to generate let's say like posters and to like write like social media posts. And I do think like in the States, business and like banks and like other industries and their like institutions, they use AI in the same way. Yeah.
Is it true that AI has also been implemented a lot by government agencies in China? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Hmm.
Yes, it is right. Yes.
That's also, a very big topic in the US with the whole Doge, Elon Musk's agency, which was pretty much built to, make public institutions in the US more efficient and make workers work faster by using AI tools. Do you have any idea? I don't know if you have, but if China has any experience so far in giving government workers access to AI, do you think it will benefit them, or has it already benefited them?
That's a good question. Um, of course, I can't speak for the government officials, and I'm not sure like how it works within the government, but I do know, and I'm sure, and I'm certain that like government officials, like individual officials, they use a DeepSeek to write their daily report, like to do research and to write reports. Yeah, this this I'm really certain. Yeah,
That's quite a transformation compared
it
to just
is.
1 year ago.
It is. It is. And I mean, before DeepSeek, like especially like in Chinese like tier three or tier four cities, some people they might like never heard of ChatGPT. Not to say like to use AI tools like ChatGPT. Yeah. So the emergence of of DeepSeek definitely like changed the whole AI scene in China.
And US has a lot of focus on building AGI. Is that
Hmm.
something people in China are also talking about? Like super intelligence
Yes,
AGI?
yes. Well, AGI, like DeepSeek, the founder Liang Wenfeng, his vision is to build AGI eventually, and it's gonna cost like a lot of money and time. Yeah, I mean both countries, of course, like AGI is like a pure like technological vision, I would say. Yeah. In terms of like the differences, I don't think like we can categorize them into like Chinese AI companies on the one hand and Western AI companies on the other hand. And I think like each company has a very like different vision and process. And AI startups like DeepSeek are actually like way more similar to American startups like OpenAI than their larger Chinese competitors like ByteDance and Baidu. Yeah.
Hmm. Which AI startups besides DeepSeek are you looking out for in China? Any particular
Speaking,
ones?
yeah, speaking of AI startups, we have to mention like Six Tigers. These six AI startups are like the most popular startups, I would say, like across the globe when it comes to like AI startups, Chinese AI startups. So like I do really want to like Okay, these six companies are like Minimax, Moonshot, Point One, AI, Zhipu, Step One, and Baichuan. And among these six companies, I really wanna like bring up Moonshot and Minimax. And Moonshot, this company is China's most valuable AI startup, and they have a model called Kimi. So Kimi is similar to ErnieBot and similar to ChatGPT. And before the success of DeepSeek, this chatbot app, Kimi, was one of China's leading domestic AI chatbot, alongside ByteDance's Doubao and Baidu's ErnieBot. Even after DeepSeek's success, Kimi has still experienced an increase in users. And about Minimax, um, they have a companion app called Talkie. And this is really interesting because Talkie, this Chinese companion AI app, even outperformed its biggest rival, Character AI, in download numbers last year.
Okay, wow. And you say there are these six tigers, but if DeepSeek is so good at Chinese content, why is it even necessary, or is it even possible to challenge DeepSeek's dominance in China, you think? Can these AI startups offer something unique that DeepSeek cannot offer?
The success of DeepSeek definitely like proves that smaller companies like tech startups in China, they have the potential to build something big. It's definitely like a confidence boost. But like in the aftermath of DeepSeek's success, instead of building something like DeepSeek, I do think like startups, they might shift their focus from development to applications. And that they have to be more creative to differentiate themselves from existing AI companies. So I would say the success of DeepSeek would definitely like change like a lot in terms of like tech, AI application like creativities and stuff. Yeah, because it's just like it's not economical for tech startups like say tigers to spend more money on like building foundational models anymore.
Hmm, I could imagine. Is it true that China's government and DeepSeek is also collaborating more? Do you think that DeepSeek could become like a national AI company kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say yes. Because given like how supportive the Chinese government is to to DeepSeek, yeah, definitely. Okay, in terms of AGI, like this is like a global race, global competition, especially like the AGI race is centered on like the US and China. And I don't think the US government is very focused on building AGI right now because they seem quite politically distracted. Besides, like in America, they still operate like with innovation through competition and being led by leaders of big tech. And China's approach is obviously more focused and centralized. And but well, I mean, I feel like only time will tell which approach will lead to more technological and society changing breakthroughs given the fact that Trump has cut fundings for top universities in America. And I mean, America right now, it's like in a politically driven scientific crisis, right? Um, so we might see China take a lead in the short term, but it's impossible to say who will come out stronger in the end. The reason why I mentioned this is because, as we all know, Liang Wenfeng, the founder of DeepSeek, his vision is to build AGI eventually, right? This is like one of his biggest like visions. And a lot of people they talk about how focused DeepSeek is on their long-term vision of achieving AGI. But I do think that we are already seeing the impact of the expansion. The Chinese government is supporting DeepSeek extensively and is being implemented in hospitals, like banks and other major institutions. So for DeepSeek, I definitely think that they can no longer afford to ignore these stakeholders, and the Chinese government is definitely like the biggest stakeholder here. And this is a pattern that repeats across every startup during its growth. like competing interests will definitely like divert the overall attention from like high level visionary goals like creating AGI. Um, and shorter term business interests will definitely like take their place. So, for example, like OpenAI, when OpenAI was funded, they had the same pure ethos of like scientific discovery for the benefit of humankind. But now look at their like subscription plans, and they're like all like new 100 and even like 10,000 like dollar plans they have coming out. Clearly something was lost, but I don't have faith that Chinese startups like DeepSeek will do any better.
Okay. And when we talk about competition, if DeepSeek and China's government are collaborating, that would put other Chinese AI startups in a very precarious situation because it will be very hard for them to compete. Uh,
Yes, of
what
course.
what 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 will they do in that situation? Do you think that again back to my question earlier that other AI startups in China can offer something unique that DeepSeek cannot offer?
Mm,
It's a tough question, I know.
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is a really good question. I definitely think tech startups like those six tigers, they have to try harder to differentiate themselves from DeepSeek, right? They have to be more creative. Um, mm, and I think they will like divert their attention from like building foundational models to more like pragmatic sectors like healthcare, or even finance, like manufacturing. And actually, one of the six tigers, Point One AI, the founder Li Kaifu, he announced that like, I mean, Li Kaifu is among like the first founders amongst the six tigers to give up on developing ultra large models. And now they are currently working with Alibaba Cloud to develop specialized model applications for like different sectors like manufacturing, banks, healthcare and stuff. Yeah. So I
It
definitely
seems to make a
think,
lot of sense. Yeah,
yes, definitely. So I definitely think like other institutions, like other industries will benefit from the race. Yeah.
yeah, because these models just keep getting bigger and bigger and more expensive and more exhausted, detrimental for the environment and the nature. So at some point, it makes sense to make more specialized AI models. They can't keep on getting bigger and bigger forever because eventually the advantages of big models also decline. So it
Yes,
makes a lot of sense
definitely.
to make more specialized AI tools. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
As a tech-focused journalist in China, what are you currently on the outlook for?
Oh, well, except for AI, like recently I'm really fascinated by EVs, electric vehicles. This is like another area that I'm super interested in. Yeah.
And that's an area where China is doing very well and have become a leader.
Yes, yes. Like it's just like after I moved back to China in 2022, I just noticed that like the cars on the streets, like most of them like 80, I wouldn't say like 80%, but like definitely like over half of the cars I see on the streets, they are EVs.
What do you think the secret is? What is it that China is doing so well?
You mean EV?
Yeah.
Like Chinese government definitely like encourages car buyers to switch like cars, like oil cars with EVs, and government offers a lot of like incentives to encourage that, like subsidies, um and just yeah, subsidies for green plates. Yeah, that's why like more people they are motivated to buy EVs. And like with like in China, like automakers, they are in a race just like AI. They are making like more like they're making like more EVs, um because of the competition. Like EVs in China are getting cheaper and cheaper. Yeah.
Okay. And here towards the end, how can people find you and follow your work?
Yeah. Well, if people want to find me, they can just email me. My email is XinRoushu, that's my name, Xinrou at gmail.com. And I'm on Twitter. Oh, it's X right now. Yeah, it's X now. It's called X. So my handle is, I don't use X that often, but my handle is XINROU6, Xinrou 6. Yeah.
Cool. I'll make sure to link to it in the comments as
Yes.
well. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thanks.
much for your time. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, thanks, Tobias. Thanks for the invite. That was
You're
fun.
very welcome. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Futuristic Lawyer Podcast.